Welcome back to segment 3 of the Fountain Hills Dark Sky Virtual Festival this year. If you have kids in the house, now's the time to round them up because we have an exciting presentation for you from our very own Ranger Amy. Amy Burnett, as most of you know, works for Arizona Fish and Game, and she's got a special presentation about wildlife and how light pollution affects them.
And for those of us who know Amy, she usually has a special guest with her. I wonder who it'll be for this presentation.
I don't know. She wouldn't tell me. I guess we're just all going to have to watch and find out.
Light pollution affects wildlife in a lot of ways. As you know, nocturnal animals sleep during the night and wake up during the day, but light pollution changes all that, and so animals are then awake during the night when they're supposed to be sleeping. And that can affect a whole bunch of different things, including sleep cycles, predator-prey cycles. So for example, this snake here, being a predator, could have more of an advantage in an area where there's a lot of light pollution. And that can give it an advantage and the prey a disadvantage. And that can affect populations of wildlife in your community or potentially all across the country. We don't even know really the ramifications of all of it quite yet. So predators have a little bit of an unfair advantage in areas where there's light pollution. And that can affect everything from the smallest mouse to the largest mountain lion. So prey species like this kangaroo rat don't like to go out when it's really light out. So if there's a lot of artificial light, they may hide more. That might cut down on the amount of time that they have to eat and escape predators, sleep, and of course we all know how that affects us when we don't get enough sleep. It also affects how they mate. So a kangaroo rat like this may not have as much time to reproduce, find a mate, if its light cycles are messed up. And it could also affect their hormones, which affects their body in certain ways as well and make them not as fertile. So everything has some ramifications that can be pretty big for wildlife. As you can see, he hasn't been eating the food that's in the corner there because he's too afraid, because he doesn't like to be exposed. He'll eat it later tonight. So not having a really bright porch light could have some real big benefits for you because it doesn't attract predator insects that are attracted to the other insects attracted to your porch light. So if you have that really dim light or a yellow or red light, you might not get scorpions at your house. Everybody wants that, right? Everybody wants to have fewer of these. Artificial light can also affect reproductive cycles of amphibians. So for example, everyone loves to hear the toads calling in the middle of the summer. So red-spotted toads and Sonoran desert toads that we have here in the desert, they may not sing and call a mate if it's too bright, because that is advertising that they're there and they have to worry about predators eating them. And so if toads have fewer days in which to call and find a mate, that might mean fewer tadpoles that are being born, and you might actually affect a local population of toads and frogs, salamanders, everything in your area is affected by this artificial light. We don't really know the big picture of how wildlife is affected by artificial light, but we do know that large mammals like deer actually will avoid areas with light, so that reduces the amount of area they have to live in, and they might not find a mate if they're sequestered in a certain area. And mountain lions may not go into certain areas because of light pollution. It affects everything from predator to prey, and it affects populations. So with all of these things that we just talked about, light pollution, artificial light, really does have an impact on wildlife in your neighborhood, in your community, even all over the country and potentially all over the world, depending on where you live. Studies show that it really does make a difference. And so we can do our part by keeping light pollution down in our neighborhood. Even something as simple as changing a light bulb, everybody can have an impact on that. Even though we don't think of artificial light as being a big deal because we don't see the impact of it on a daily basis, it really does affect animals and populations. It can have as much of an effect on wildlife as cutting down a whole forest of trees. Think about that. Each of us can play a really big role in protecting wildlife by limiting artificial light.
We hope you stay tuned for segment 4, where we'll announce the winners of our student art and astrophotography contest.
Many thanks to our Galaxy sponsor, Toll Brothers. Our star sponsors are Shea Donnelly and McDonald's. Our planet sponsors are Paul's Ace Hardware and Republic Services. Our asteroid sponsors are the Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce, Flying Flowers Butterfly Garden, Automotive Research, and the NPOA.